Hey there, Julia here, and today we are flipping through my favorite journal in my lineup this year, my pen and ink journal. This is actually the first time that I've completed an ink journal. I set up one before, but it didn't last for very long. I just thought it was too small and it just wasn't serving the purpose that I wanted it to serve. So I moved into this one pretty early in 2024 and I just fell in love. I actually feel a little bit emotional about flipping through this journal because this year has just been so awesome when it comes to my fountain pen and ink journey, but we are not going to do that today. We are not going to get super emotional. So, in this ink journal, I keep my currently inked, my new pen days, some of them, some ink swaps, some ink hauls, and even for a little bit, I kept my entire pen and ink collection as a reference in here. This is a paper mood planner from I think 2020 or 2021. I actually got it for free at the Colorado Pen Show. It was just on one of those donation pay it forward tables. And as I was walking by, one of the girls was like, "Do you want this?" They were just trying to get rid of stuff. And I was like, "Sure." And I'm so glad I grabbed this because it has the old Tomoe River paper in it and it's a B6 size. For most of the year, I did have it in a like green leather cover, but near the end of this year, I took it out just because I wanted to repurpose the cover, but I still love this all the same. So I wanted to flip through this journal to not only relive the year in pens and inks, but to maybe give you some ideas for your own hobby-related journals. Doesn't even have to be pen and ink specific. And I've used just about every page in this journal, even pages I feel like I wasn't supposed to use. And I still have only a few things to add here. Hopefully I'll have room, but with that said, let's go ahead and flip through. So opening up to the cover page, you'll see in a lot of these intro pages that I stick in pen and ink related packaging and postcards and notes and things from packages and friends and things like that. And so that's just really nice to see and to decorate and to have a place for them. Okay, this is where I documented all of my bottles, my ink samples, my ink mixes here at the front of this ink journal. And I did this on January 14th. Not even thinking or being aware that my ink collection, as well as my pen collection, is super flexible. Things are in and out, things get added quite a bit, and I didn't leave any room for that. So I ended up moving this idea, this concept, to another more flexible system, my pen and ink directory, and I'll leave the video for that up here. Basically how I keep my pens and inks documented and up to date. But here I do have a beginning of the year summary of what I had for full bottles, ink samples, pens, and ink mixes. And this may have been one of the first times that I used my spoon for swatching, and I really enjoyed that. And as you know, if you've been hanging out, that is sort of my primary swatching tool. Gorgeous, gorgeous inks. So nice to see them grouped up in this way. And it looks like they're by brand, which I don't really organize my inks by brand. I do that whenever I store them, but I don't really do that on paper because I'm never really looking for inks because of the brand. I'm more so looking at ink color categories versus by brand. It's so funny to think that I had 30 something ink samples, and I'm pretty sure I am well past the hundreds right now in ink samples. Yeah, I had 30. Crazy. Some of my ink mixes. I don't think I've mixed anything new this year. I've actually gifted one of my mixes, maybe this one, I think, but I definitely want to do some more of that next year. Then we have the 2023 Diamine Inkvent calendar. And then this is where I thought I was going to document all of my fountain pens. I have them numbered here, and the idea was to, every time I inked it up, to write the date, what I inked it up with, the nib if it was an interchangeable nib, and then just like a little squiggly or figure 8. And the idea for this was just to see what pens I was inking up the most and what pens I was sort of neglecting. But I didn't keep up with it, and pens started selling and getting gifted, and it just became a little hard to find any new pens. I will show you what I mean later, but when I got new pens, I would just add them in throughout the book. And so it was just a hot mess trying to find pens to document the ink. So lots of wasted pages here, really. Look, this whole page sold. And then we move into January. I did use these little tabs here at the beginning of the month, and these are from Travelers Company. They're like yearly sticker sets. We have January, and I would star or mark in some way what my favorite was at the end of the month. Have some 2024 pen and ink goals and wish lists. Let's look at these really quick, see what Past Julia said. Number 1, stick to low buy rules using affiliate dollars, pen and ink sale money. I did do that. Birthday buys are okay, pen show buys are okay. I did that. Stick to the wish list. I didn't, whatever this says under here, I did not do it. Not on the list. See if anything in current collection is similar, wait a week, really assess and write down why I want it before no, I did not do that. Get to know what you have. Try and ink up everything at least once this year. Sell, gift, etc. Anything I'm not super happy with. I did ink up a lot of things this year, even some that I haven't in a while, but I did not get through everything because I was adding a lot of things. And here was my wish list. I did get quite a few things on my wish list, even though I did sell a couple of them. And then that's it for January, just because I was in another ink journal for most of January. So February is really where I start sort of figuring out what I want in this journal in particular. So we have the currently inked. My favorite, which was the Esterbrook SD Raven with the Cursive Smooth Italic nib inked up with Writer's Blood by Diamine. One of my favorites of the year, really. And then see, here we go. We're back to some pen editions. And then currently inked continued. Yeah, it's a little chaotic at the beginning of the year because I didn't really know what I was doing. Ferris Wheel Press Jubilee. So I am, just for a couple of more months, I think, on the Ferris Wheel Press Jubilee Ambassador program. So every month they would send an ink or two maybe a carousel pen. And so I just would document the inks here as well. My favorite reds. So I have an ongoing series here on the channel, just going through some of my favorite picks in every category. And so I did this one in February, and video spoiler for all of these. But if you want to hear a little bit more about any of these favorites, I'll leave that playlist for you up above as well. Super bingeable, and there's some color psychology in there too. Currently inked for March. I really love how these colors look together. And we have our March fave, and then back to pens. New acquisitions, yeah. Imagine like being in October and I inked this winter white Esterbrook Esty, and trying to find where this was just not fun. What are these? Oh yeah, I used these in my 8-pen questions video. Just some fun little swatches here. I got this Pilot Blue with the Pilot Custom 823. Some thoughts on that, some swatching, and then randomly another pen down here. Here I was trying to keep up with which Jowo number 6 nibs that I had, because they're interchangeable and because I just wanted to look at nib grinds and just see what I already had. This is also not up to date because I've moved this in my pen and ink directory as well. Have another Ferris Wheel Press package from June. I love Dancing Time, look at that. And then in March, I started evaluating or rating the pen and ink combinations. So I would rate what I thought of the pen that month, trying to solely focus in on the pen experience, like how it felt in my hand, just how well it performed as a pen. And then I tried to isolate the ink, even though these are very dependent on each other, the pen and ink together and the paper, but as much as I could. And then I just would add them together to get the pair rating, and then whichever one had the highest pair rating was the favorite. More pens. And then this was an ink haul that I grabbed and just documented all the samples. Currently inked for April. More pens. So I guess April was when Archer and Olive came out with their first fountain pen and their first 2 inks, and so I just had some thoughts on that. I have since gifted the pen. I still have the inks, but I refuse to use their inks on their paper. As you can see, they look really nice on this Tomoe River paper, and they look really nice on fountain pen friendly paper. They just don't look nice on their paper. New inks, new pen. And then here's where I started doing some mid-month check-ins. So I would just go through and write about what I've uninked, because maybe I just it just didn't work. It couldn't even make it through the halfway point of the month, or because I had to get it serviced or something like that. If I wrote anything dry by the halfway point of the month, I would write that here. And usually it's because such a great match. It's usually because I really liked it. Any changes? So from the currently inked page, what changes did I make? Whether I'm changing out nibs or changing inks, because maybe the ink and pen didn't play as well together as I initially thought, things like that. And then if I added anything to the currently inked, I would write that here. New ink, new pen. Another Ferris Wheel Press package. Here's my first documented ink swap, and this one was with Jana Lyon. She also has a YouTube channel. Definitely check her out. But we did a fun little ink swap, and these are the inks that I grabbed from her. And then I also wrote down which inks I sent her way. And then I have my April Inked in Review, again rating the pen and ink combinations here and then choosing the favorite with the most points. And then May has a chaotic, currently inked, a lot of inked pens, and I was just feeling like I wanted to take up a lot of space. Look how pretty this is. It's Venta Burnt Sugar. So pretty. And then we went to the favorite oranges. More pens mixed in. You'll see these mixed in for a good chunk of the year because it just took me a while to get frustrated with this system. Have a May mid-month check-in. I was loving Conklin Dusty Rose here, and then Pilot Blue. Disappointments. Emerald of Chivor is so smudgy and takes forever to dry in the pen it's in. Very disappointing. May try it in a different pen next time, which I still need to do. It definitely needs to go in a drier pen. I think it was in, yeah, Giant Sequoia with like an Omniflex nib, and it was just like so wet, too wet, and it was just smudgy and everywhere. I remember that. Another pen, new ink here. This is a new pen day. I got the Pilot Custom 743 and the Verdigris. And then I even picked some fun initial ink matches. I should make this a thing going forward. I don't think I did this very often, but I had a little writing sample with it. Cute. Couple of new pen days. The Parker Sonnet, which I have since sold, but I have a little writing sample here, as well as the Diplomat Excellence A2, and this is with the medium nib. Now this has the Sansakusen grind on it, and I love it even more, but this is when I first got it. Pens, new ink. Love this Dominant Industry and Wonder Pens Ginger Chicken. It does look a lot like Ancient Copper, but it's just a very subtle difference. New pen day for the Jinhao 80, which is like a Lamy 2000 dupe. And then I did an ink swap with Danielle, also known as Procrastinating Mama on Instagram. And she has, I was gonna say an extensive collection, but she has all the Ferris Wheel Press inks. And so she was kind enough to send me whichever ones I wanted and Colorverse Brunch Date. So I just swatched all of them right here. More pens, more Ferris Wheel Press inks. And then I have my May Inked in Review, my ratings, and I did this on Instagram Live talking about what I thought of the pen and ink pairings. I chose a favorite based on the ratings, and I even added in a little photo of the pens that I had inked up. So I definitely want to do that more in my next ink journal, just adding in more photos. Here's my June currently inked. And then I did an ink swap with Mark from Marker Pages. I have his note here and the 3 inks that he sent over. In June, I also got the Journaler grind back from Gina Ballerina with Custom Nib Studio. For this one, I sent the nib off to them and they worked on it, and it took about 10 weeks or so, and then it got back to me in June. And so this was my first time writing with the Journaler and my initial thoughts. And I will say, I love the Journaler nib. Oh, I did do it here as well. Okay, so this is a new pen day for the Pilot Falcon with a soft fine nib. I have a little writing sample here as well as some ink match ideas. And then another pen. More pens, lots of pens. Oh, this was birthday time. That's why. I was like, why are there so many? Because they were gifted. I also have a video on this. These are my fountain pen superlatives. So we have things like my new and shiny, the Pilot Falcon. As we saw, I had just got it. My most used, the Esterbrook Esty. The best dress was the Tailored Pen Company Wildflowers. Yeah, I have a video going through all of these as well. I'll leave it for you linked up here, but this one was super fun. Also have an ink swap from a somewhat local pen friend, at least in the same state. And I just got some lovely greens and teals in that swap. I have June mid-month check-in. New pens. We're a little crazy here, but just getting down some initial thoughts for some new pens that had come in. New ink, some inked additions, so additions to currently inked, and more pens. Here are my favorite yellow and gold inks. Ferris Wheel Press. More pens. It's crazy. And then at the end of June, I did a sample haul from Goulet Pens, pre-craziness, and I got so many samples. Oh, this was the surprise sample as well. I didn't get to pick these. There's a video for this one as well, but there are quite a few good ones. I think I did pick some of them. I'm sorry, my memory. But I think 5 of them maybe are just surprises. Here's my June inked in review. My favorite being the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Demo with my own custom mix of Birmingham Pen Company's Tea Berry Ice Cream and Ice Rink. Get into the July currently inked. And then this is where I was like, I cannot do this anymore with documenting the pens. And so I said, changes in this journal. Pens will not be added in here anymore. I want to create a pen and ink directory in a rings planner. And that's what I did. Here is a mid-month check-in. Loving. Everything is really great so far. The gray ink in the Decimo is so nice. The Lamis are super smooth, and I continue to love the Imperial nib. And I got these beautiful inks from Colorverse, Night of Myrtle and White Sands. And they represent, to me, like where I was born and grew up, South Carolina, and where I live now, New Mexico. Here's my July inked in review. And the favorite was the Pelikan M620 in the New York colorway with Robert Oster Honeybee. My August currently inked was crazy. I initially did it in another insert just because I was going to Stationery Fest and I wanted with me all the pens I was taking and inking and all of that. But I came back here to do a quick reference of what I had inked up. And we have my favorite green inks. And then all of the inks that I purchased at Stationery Fest or received in workshops. These are so pretty, but there are so many of them. And then the Stationery Fest pens that I grabbed. My mid-month check-in for August, I will read disappointments. Minor, but the button fill Esty in Winter White seems to need priming. The ink may not be getting to the feed properly. I will need to keep an eye on it. So I figured this out since then. There's a little plastic tube in the button fill Esties, and I didn't have it pushed in all the way, so the ink was not getting to the feed and the nib as well as it should have been. There you go, Past Julia. Okay, these were all the custom nib grinds that I had at this time. There is a video for this as well. And in this video, I show you super close up how these different nib grinds look and how they write. Here's another Ferris wheel press drop. August rating system, so many to rate here. So it is awesome that the Leonardo Momento Zero Imprugna won out because there were just so many good pens that month. Then we get into September. Gorgeous color palette. New ink, kinda. This is when I got Kirasame. I had a sample of it, but whenever it was announced that it was gonna get discontinued, I grabbed a bottle because I really liked the sample. And so I wrote a little bit about that and then chose some similar inks as well. This is just a note. Yes, this is from Papa J Woodworks whenever I got my wedding pen and the wedding dip pen, the note that he sent me in there. And then what do we have here? The Ferris wheel press drop and the inks that Luke sent me with my wedding pen commission. Have a mid-month check-in here. I didn't have anything too exciting happening as far as being uninked or writing things dry or any additions. Then I grabbed some lovely inks from Matt over at the Wet Pen and just documented those and wrote my initial thoughts here. New pen day for the Leonardo Momento Zero Nuvola Lilac. My initial thoughts and some initial matches alongside the September Inked in Review. Then we get over to October and this witchy, spooky color palette. This was one of my favorite color palettes for the year. This was actually a planning paper. I like to see what the inks look like together before I decide like, okay, these are gonna be the inks that I use. Sometimes I do it different every month. Sometimes I'll pick the pens that I wanna use and just find inks that match that. Sometimes I'll pick the inks first and then find pens that I wanna use that match. Sometimes I go off of my journal theme color if I do that first, and sometimes I do the opposite and I'll pick the currently inked set first and then do the journal. It's just whatever I feel like that month. Here are a couple of inks that I added because October is when the Colorado Pen Show is and I knew I was going there, so I wanted to take the Magna Carta since there is a lot of curiosity around that. And then I also had a Novelore Horizon with a monoline nib, and I learned that I cannot travel with the Magna Carta inked up. It just doesn't travel well. New pen day for the Novelore Original Plus in the Nebulosa Laguna. Some ink matches for that and a nice writing sample. Actually did a review video for this pen, and so this is where we had the matches and the writing sample in that video. These are the inks that I grabbed from the Colorado Pen Show. I think I got my Kakamori pre-order here as well. I ordered it from Stationery Fest as a pre-order and got it here in October. Have another mid-month check-in for October. I'm loving the Monte Grappa Elmo, is killing it once again. Love the pairing and the nib. The black Navalor is great. Love it in natural light. The Monte Grappa Elmo was inked up with Sailor Ink Studio 653, and that ended up being the favorite for the month. I got a care package from Birmingham Pen Company and just swatched those inks here. Another Ferris Wheel Press launch. Loved both of these colors. And then we have the October Inked in Review. November's currently inked. And then an ink swap with my pen friend Priscilla. She also has a channel here on YouTube. Definitely check her out. But she sent me a note and some lovely inks. Teranishi Opera Rose, Teranishi Nostalgic Honey, and Birmingham Pen Company's Water Bear. And then at CPC, I got to hang out with Kristen, and she also gifted me some ink samples. And look how beautiful they are. Just lovely blues and teals and greens. And then these are the inks that I purchased at CPC. So you can see definitely a Chicago vibe. We have my mid-month check-in here. I did add 2 pen and inks to November, the Navalor Nautilus in Cotton Candy, which is an Atlas exclusive. I put Water of the Nile Diamine in there, and then I added a new pen, the Heinz Pens, an Atlas collaboration in Purple Rain, and inked that with Robert Oster and Atlas collab Sidewalk Gum. We have the Inked in Review and another Ferris Wheel Press drop, which is the latest drop that I have right now, I'm pretty sure. And then we get into December, and I've set up a page for the 2024 Diamine Ink Vent. And at this time of filming, not quite done with it yet, but once we get there, I will take off these tapes and maybe write about the calendar as a whole here, maybe pick a few favorites, and I just left space for that. And then in December, for my currently inked, I picked a favorite pen and ink pairing, as you saw. I took the favorite pen and ink pairing from every month and re-inked it as closely as possible anyways. And so we have an ink pen for every month except for December, and then an honorable mention here. And then we have my favorite blue inks, which we just went through a couple of weeks ago. And then I have a blank spread, which I hope to use for my December ratings and just kind of wrapping up December inked. Then back here, I have been keeping up with Cam's currently inked, what day I ink up a pen for him, which pen, with what ink, a little sample. He keeps his pens inked for far longer than I do, so at least since July, we've only needed a page. And then I did another ink swap with Jasmine, Cozy Traveler. She also has a YouTube channel if you're looking for more pen and ink content. And she sent me some very lovely inks here. Here's my December mid-month check-in. You can see I'm starting to run out of space, so I am just using whatever I can. I also did the Reddit Secret Santa this year, and my Secret Santa really went above and beyond and sent 5 bottles of ink along with a couple of pens, but I just wanted to swatch the inks here. And I think I have a couple of blank spreads. This was temporarily my chopping block for the pens that I wanted to sell. And so I have those here. This didn't last very long. And then at the end of the year, I want to do my pen and ink stats. So the number of pens I've purchased, pens that were gifted, pens that were sold, how many total pens I have, how many total ink bottles, how many total ink samples. So those numbers will get popped in there. And then back here, I have more notes, and I got this. I see there's like no, I'm running out of room here, so it's a little wacky, but I got a new ink, Ferris Wheel Press Bookkeeper's Brass, very pretty. Also have different thank you cards and just some more notes and ephemera from pen and ink purchases. Also a couple of other notes that I couldn't really get in here permanently, but I think I'm just gonna do like a little pocket or something here and stick them in the back. But yeah, there she is. I hope that you enjoyed this flip through as much as I have flipping through this journal and just keeping this journal. I love it so much. Let me know if you've got any ideas from this that you're gonna use in the new year. Just tell me about your ink journal. I wanna hear about what you keep track of, how you keep your ink journal. And if you wanna see what I'm moving into for 2025, also very exciting. Here is my 2025 new ink journal setup. I'll leave it for you right here. Thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you for being here. Subscribe if you want to keep hanging out, and I will catch you in the next one.